Morning, everybody. I think where we left off last time was the second bit of field training. And so after that, we're going to go into what I call the getting comfortable years. Those years where you're done field training, you've graduated, and then you're back typically in the last division that you were working in. And so for me, I had gone back to St. Boniface or District 5, and I was lucky enough to get partnered up with my field trainer from that phase of training, from the second phase. Um, and I worked on a really good shift with a lot of old dogs, a lot of three-digit badge numbers, some of whom I believe were around before amalgamation in '75, working for other departments. And and then most who were on, with Winnipeg Police Service, and but there were also a couple of young people. I think that would be myself, my field trainer, and then who had been on it for a handful of years more than me, and so yeah, it was good. It was just like I had a great partnership, got along well, worked hard. I learned a lot from having a very intelligent, thorough, uh, confident partner, and I switched shifts a couple times and got to work with a junior guy that I got along really well with, and I had some really good bosses, and so yeah, so you're graduated and you're just sort of starting to get comfortable with getting all those reps in, going to you know many of the similar or same types of calls for service, like domestics or mental health act stuff. Um, of course, going domestics and or family disputes, really the bulk of um, what you're doing in uniform a lot of the time, both in terms of call volume and also in terms of just repetition. And and yeah, so you're getting comfortable with how you handle things, getting comfortable with how I was getting comfortable with how I documented them, and that's where I think it really shows that you're starting to. I was starting to develop, um, my own personal style of doing things, and yeah. So, but partway through that first year, I had the opportunity through a little bit of the shell game in terms of divisional transfers, and of course back then it was so much simpler, um, less complicated. I think HR was less of a beast than it is now, and you know, divisional commanders and or shift supervisors could, if you wanted to work a trade deal, it was a lot easier for that to happen. Things were just less complicated that way, and I luckily had the opportunity in the forms of an offer. There was someone in the North End or Division 13 at that time who wanted to come to District 5. And it had been the shift that I had field trained in my first phase out there. And well, it didn't take much for me to. That was a no-brainer for me. Although again, I was fortunate to be on the job and working with good people, and having a lot of laughs and good times. The opportunity of getting back to the North End and being busier and greater call volume and more complicated investigations and less dead time between calls for service. It's just well, you learn a lot faster when you're thrown into the fire. I certainly did. Like the more you do, the more you learn. The faster you do it, the quicker you're exposed to more serious things or a greater variety of things. And you know, several of my friends that had been on for a handful of years, you know, said that I could not afford to not jump at the chance um, to take that opportunity, and so I did, and I was just fucking thrilled to be back in three. Um, I also knew that that would be something that would um, increased my chances of getting into line of work, specialty unit or plainclothes unit, um, that I had, put some thought into and a little bit of planning, um, in terms of getting into them. And at the time, that was the Vice Division Drug Unit. So that opportunity and that influence that I had from field trainers and 3 and senior partners who'd been there, this, would give me the opportunity to do more fucking workup in that regard. And that kind of stuff, if guys and gals, kids, if you're thinking about getting somewhere, you have to put in the fucking work to get there. And you have to do everything it takes to increase your chances to make that happen. And this move from one division to the other was not a guarantee of getting me somewhere, but what it was is a guarantee of me being able to do more of what's required to get somewhere, to get more exposure by getting drug arrest or street level gang enforcement and intelligence reports. And that move is exactly what I needed to do to make it happen. And so boy, was I glad to follow up on that opportunity. And then I set about doing the work that was required. And so what I really mean by that is, arresting street level drug dealers, trying to flip informants, submitting intelligence reports. And what that does is it gains the necessary experience and the type of work that you may be doing looking forward to where you want to be. Part of it is you got to put your fucking name out there, and that's putting your name on paper. Because if you don't, chances are you likely won't get the transfer that you're seeking. If they don't know who you are, if they don't see that you're initiating or expressing an interest in where it is that you want to go, on top of all the things like you're being a good guy and a team player and all that kind of political shit, which are necessities, but you can't or you shouldn't do just that. You're really just going to screw yourself and not get to where you want to be. So I started to do that, and I wasn't foolish enough to think that I could do it all on my own. Part of what it required was listening to the guys who had already been there, and watching them do the work, like writing warrants or talking to guys in the box in the interview room, and listening how they talk to those guys, and watching how they select the guys that that you guys and gals, of course, that you would be able to flip. And just pounding the fucking pavement, and every opportunity I had to be proactive and looking at a car, running a plate, starting to add up those things that are grounds, looking at somebody suspicious, or going to an area that you've had previous success in before, just like you would for a fishing or a hunting honey hole. Go to the areas and do the work in between your calls for service. And that's something that I'll talk about a little bit more later, but I can't say it enough. You can't just be fucking picky or selective about the kind of work that you're doing, because while it may produce the results you want and may get you noticed, you're fucking over your platoon or your shift if you don't also handle your fair share of calls. And I can honestly say that's a value that I've always held. And anybody who knows me, I think, will likely say the same thing. That I never only did the kind of work that I wanted. I also did my fucking share. And it's not important that it's just me. It's also important that my car, the cruiser car that I was in, whether I was field training someone or working with a junior partner, that I express that on top of them. Always If you're taking a hot call, always try to get there first. If you're, doing a lot of proactive stuff and getting a lot of overtime, um, and whether or not you're getting other people involved in your own shit fests, uh, always ensure that you're also doing your fucking part. Because of course, in terms of a GP, the general patrol shift, that's an absolute fucking must, and so therefore you must do it. So yeah, getting comfortable, um, you know, you feel more confident. You start to develop a knack as to what to look for. Um, so much so that it becomes second nature, and then also you become good at another huge part of it is uh, reading in between the lines. So you might get a shitty domestic or a shitty family dispute, and you have all that information on your MDT and mobile dispatch terminator or laptop now or whatever the fuck they're called. But we had little black boxes with orange letters and this annoying buzzer sound. Um, and then flip to laptop computers and different systems. But you get comfortable with using that, and you look at the information in your initial call history, and Jane Doe was calling and saying A, B, C, and D about somebody who was there and just left. But then you read about this person's history, and you read about the address, and you read about previous calls for service, and you look at that whole call, and you don't just see all the different lines of information. You also read up and figure out what it is exactly that person wants. And so when you get to the call and you're talking to the complainant or the victim or the suspect or the accused or whatever, figuring what's really there, all the gray area shit, it helps you decide how efficiently you're going to manage the calls that you're taking. Whether you're going to put, every moment and every effort of your blood, sweat, and fucking tears into the thing, or whether or not you're going to be efficient and find the right fix, be it temporary or long term, that you need to do now so that you can get back out there and start humping more fucking calls or looking for something more fun than the shit that you're doing. And that's a skill that takes. Well, some people pick it up really in the first 3 to 5 years, but most people it takes really that 5 or so year period till where you get into the groove and really develop your own style. And it's not something that can or should be rushed. Again, some people are just fucking miracle children, and they're just exceedingly good at it, or naturals, and some it takes a little bit more work. For me, it definitely took a little bit more work, and being exposed to a busier environment uh, where you're not looking to find things where they're just fucking popping up or you're bouncing off them as you're out there cruising around and driving the streets in the back lanes. That's what worked. And so I had really my sights set on getting into the Vice Division drug unit because that work was so much goddamn fun. The very little I did of it on the street, I knew that was something that I wanted to do. So the work is one thing. Also, you have to think academically too. Um, I took every single goddamn drug related course that I could think of ahead of time, that the academy offered, um, and not just drug related course writing courses. So search and seizure courses, warrant writing, um, all those things that'll be, you know, they don't just gain you the experience or get you prepared for where it is you're looking to go, but they also build your resume, which you have to do because every single transfer is a competition, and you have to look at, well, who's the next guy or gal. Uh, on paper, I want to beat them. I want to have more than they do, and I want to have more than what they have to offer because that gives the people looking at you um, a larger reason, a greater scale in your favor, and you know that's what it takes to beat others out or to win what it is that you're seeking. And another thing that I did that I highly recommend is every opportunity that you can, whether it's an specialty or an investigative unit, on overlaps, I would TA myself or get myself TA'd, temporarily assigned, and do the fucking shit jobs. And, you know, looking at the places or houses or vehicles um, that the Vice Division guys had on their list, but weren't necessarily the most exciting or most promising, but they had files that needed to be cleared. So you gotta go and shovel fucking shit and smile and be happy about it. Uh, you know, paying your dues. There needs to be a lot more of that nowadays. We can't just rely on who our drinking buddies or hockey playing buddies are. Um, Although in our world, of course, that's it's not necessarily inevitable for every transfer, but it fucking factors in there. And so you got to suck it up, Buttercup, and be ready for that kind of shit. Um, so paying your dues, showing that you're willing to do whatever it takes, because there's going to be shit jobs if you get there, and you better fucking be ready to smile and just do them. So I did that. That also, not only does it show what you're willing to do, that also gives you an opportunity to rub shoulders or put a face to the name with the people that you're going to be asking and hoping to work with. So I did that. And then also, you think about being a team player or in a team environment. So if I got information, say, from a traffic stop or a spot check or um, gaining an informant, uh, not just doing that, putting the paperwork down, trying to fucking do something about it. Um, and uh, and I did that. I organized overlaps. I contacted specialty units. I got surveillance vehicles. I did work on addresses, and whether or not it turned into something actionable that I could work on, or actionable that I could submit by intelligence report or otherwise to the specialty unit I was looking to go to. I did that probably in the course of a year, probably about 4 or 5 times. And on some occasions, I was able to find large scale marijuana grows or submit intelligence on dial dealers and vehicles, phone numbers that they had. And every little fucking bit matters. And because they know that you're serious, and they know that you're interested. So when the time came to apply, um, in my 6th year for the Vice Division, I got in. I did the work. I did the shit jobs. I did the intelligence reports. I put my name to paper. I put a face to the name. But I'd be remiss in not mentioning, I also got there with a little bit of luck. I wasn't the #1 pick, and when they're looking at a list or a short list of guys and gals, you know, they're going to have it depending on the number of positions, you know, in the order that that current shift or platoon wants. And I was the #2. Um, and I only made the #1 position because the #1 person at that time was in a little bit of hot water, and they were in the penalty box, and and they so therefore they didn't qualify for the transfer. Having known and worked with that person for a few years in various different capacity, uh, that's somebody that I would have picked for so many reasons, other than just what they looked like or what they were in terms of their background, because that's often an advantage, depending on the area of work. I would have picked them too, and so I get that. So yeah, but having said that, I would never have gotten it with all the work that I put in. I was directly responsible for the fortune that I made, but also cognizant of the fact that I'm lucky to have been #2. So I'll leave it there for next time, and then on the next video that I do, We'll get into my first transfer and specialty unit work in the drug unit. That'll probably be for a couple of weeks. In a couple of days, I'm headed back to HSC to get my last bit of surgery done, to get my plumbing returned to normal, and then it'll be quite a bit of a recovery time associated with that. So until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you soon. Bye.